All right, welcome back to Untangling Today's America. I'm Josh here with Lewis, and today we're going to talk about Russia, Ukraine, the United States, Putin, Trump, Zelensky.
This seems to be your favorite nightmare topic, Josh.
It is a nightmare because it never ends. It's been going on for
2-3 years?
3 years at this point. It's back and forth. World leaders act like teenage girls, and they're happy one minute and unhappy with each other the next. So, but we finally have a meeting in place.
And there's nuclear rattling every other week.
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 nuclear submarines redirected towards Russia at the moment.
Well, they also redeployed nuclear-capable groups over to Belarus for a training exercise.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot going on in Eastern Europe. And we talk about it a lot, but because it needs to be talked about because it literally impacts everyone's future in the world. So let's talk about it a little bit. We have a meeting now set up for Friday, 11:30 a.m. Alaska time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time in the United States, and that's when they're actually going to meet in a press conference, which I'm assuming will be a joint press conference. We'll follow that. So I'm
televised joint press conference, and probably a little bit of private talking.
Probably.
I'd say they'll do the normal big group function where they have all the ambassadors in one room, the president, Putin across from each other, the interpreters. They'll do that for a little bit, go back and forth, then they'll close the doors, talk a little amongst themselves. Putin and Trump might break off, have a little one-on-one conversation with their interpreters and them, and then maybe get back together for cameras and talk a little bit about what they talked about.
I'd say it's very possible around 5 to 6 p.m. we'll hear something out of both Trump and Putin, and probably at a stage together. So it's taken quite a bit of work to get to this point.
A lot of threats.
A lot of threats, and both leaders have been unhappy with one another over the last month, really.
They even almost sacrificed our trade deal with India due to
absolutely,
due to this.
So, and this is really a pivotal time in history because we have a nuclear arms deal that's set to expire at the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken, in September.
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong. That I know it's this year, and so that's part of these.
If this is the one I'm thinking about, isn't Russia already backed out of that?
It's still technically in effect.
I mean, I could be. I'm possibly wrong, but I'm pretty sure Russia backed out of that treaty.
Well, I don't know if anybody really abides by it, but the
Ukraine. I mean, Iran doesn't, but yeah.
But the news that popped up this morning was actually brought up by Putin in his camp. Was this is a time to discuss a new nuclear arms deal, which could be history in the making if we can enforce it.
Well, he also stated that he believes that this meeting between him and Trump is a sincere effort at world peace, which is a load of malarkey coming out of that man, but okay.
No, 100% true.
Yeah, Josh, 100% true from Putin.
You have to trust him. Anyway.
You have to trust the little short man.
Anyway, so we'll see. I mean, we're talking about the 2 largest nuclear powers. That's what really drives all this tension that we have. That's why this is such a big deal. Obviously, the main talking point of this meeting is going to be Ukraine and trying to find a resolution. I know, as late as the past few days, Putin and Trump both have said, they're going to try a trilateral meeting with Zelensky. They would like to see that. Zelensky has adamantly refused that they will give up any land. And that is seemingly a sticking point for Putin and Russia, that they want to keep what they have got.
Well, they want. So I believe the last thing I saw that Putin stated was he wanted a corridor to Crimea, which would include the 2 regions he's already annexed, and also a little bit more land going down. If I'm not mistaken, the Dnipro.
Yeah, I mean, what is he after? A warm water port.
Yeah,
and access to warm water year round. That's been a struggle for Russia since the beginning of the country. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know how much hope I have in it. I think that if all holds between now and then, we're in a good position, to have some positive things come out of the meeting. I struggle to think that we'll see Trump, Putin, Zelensky all in the same room anytime soon.
No. Yeah, my my best guesstimation of what will occur is they'll have the meeting. Putin will agree to some little terms here and there, but won't really set forth any effort to make any long-term agreements.
Yeah.
Any full-reaching agreements. What many people have said they expect to come out of this is a ceasefire and maybe a hostage or a prisoner exchange. They've had prisoner exchanges, but not necessarily full-on ceasefires.
They've broken every ceasefire that's quote unquote ceasefire.
Yeah.
So I don't have
but I'm saying
that may be what comes out of it.
I think maybe there is a possibility of a prisoner exchange. I know Trump stated that he wanted to try to get some land return back to Ukraine and maybe to Russia too, land swaps. I'm not sure that Ukraine holds any any Russian land at the moment. I think
I don't think they.
I think their breakthrough up in, was it Kherson?
Yeah, it's. I don't think they hold any.
I don't think they hold any of that territory anymore. I think they've been pushed out of all Russian territory that they did the counterattack in a few months ago. But I don't think there's going to be much coming out of this meeting.
I don't either. One thing I've kind of bounced around in my head is the possibility that, President Trump likes to use economics to drive deals of all sorts, and we saw that recently with Thailand and Cambodia. That trade was a major factor in settling that dispute. So is it possible that, we see sanctions lifted, trade opened up a little bit between the United States and Russia in exchange for Putin giving up some of the land back to Zelensky? The thing with Putin is it's extremely hard for him internally in Russia to go back and say, we've made these sacrifices and we're going to give the land up.
So going back to where I was saying Kherson, it's actually Kursk, the Russian province that Ukraine had took land in. But on your point where you said that he...
Sorry, my mic just came out.
Josh just abruptly ripped his mic out of the pole arm.
Apologies, go on.
But no, back to Josh's point about how... going back to sanctions and economic maybe incentives towards Russia, I don't think that Putin would go for that. Because, their economy is already in the trash gutter, if we're being honest.
No, it is.
They're selling oil barely to make even a slight profit to India right now, which is buying their crude oil. And which is also where I pointed out earlier, where we almost blew up our trade agreement with India, which I think we increased sanctions on India after we learned that they were continuously buying sanctioned Russian oil.
Yeah,
we bumped up sanctions on India, but no, I think Putin, he needs to accept some form of economic incentives because their economy is been on the very big, deep downturn water slide straight to nowhereville for at least a few years now. But it's progressively started to get worse when their cash reserves have just been practically ran through at this point.
Yeah, they over the last 3 years they've spent all the money they had towards this war. It's not gone, and no matter what they say, it's not gone how the Russians thought it would go. I'd
also like to point out that they're doing military bonuses which they cannot afford to pay in rubles, and
yeah,
which I think one of them was like almost in the hundred thousands, which was for if you go to Ukraine and you fight, if you die, your widow is compensated an insane amount of Russian rubles.
Yeah, which
is unpayable by the Russian government. Yeah, because it would lead to hyperinflation.
Yeah, so really both sides need the war to end. It's a war of attrition right now, and really Russia can probably float itself longer than Ukraine could, in theory, but the Ukraine has a lot of Western backing. So,
well, my thing is, if we look at it from the onset, Ukraine has been under-equipped. Ukraine has been understaffed, under everything. But then we look at the Russian side of things. They're now just started, for the past year, they've been running into issues where they are now just hitting recruitment issues. They're now hitting supply shortages, stuff of the sort. They can barely afford to replenish tanks that they've lost throughout this fight. We've seen a drastic reduction of how many tanks, BMPs, stuff like that, Russia is actively using in their land pushes to try to attack the Ukrainian positions. We've seen more of a World War II doctrine style of mass attacks from the infantry at this point, and also mass artillery barrages instead of a combined arms effort.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested in how long the meeting lasts, the private part of the meeting lasts tomorrow, and I think
I give it maybe an hour.
If it here's my thoughts. If hour's the benchmark, if it lasts over an hour, there may be some progress made. If they skirt out of there in 45 minutes, there's probably nothing going to come out.
Well, here's my thing. If this meeting, whenever it does conclude, I'm just hoping somehow, some way, Trump doesn't come out of there loosening restrictions on Russia.
Well, yeah,
because I genuinely hope Putin doesn't sweet talk him enough to backslide on some restrictions we have on trade, some other things we have on them. But I already know that the U.S. has stated we're not going to be supplying Ukraine anymore. That if Ukraine wants to receive weapons from the U.S., they're going to have to purchase them, or the European Union and their allies within Europe are going to have to purchase and have those shipped to.
Yeah, we're not just
Ukraine.
we're not
going to personally fund them anymore.
Yeah, we're not directly selling it to Ukraine either, from my understanding.
No, we're selling it to UK, Germany, France, and they're transporting it to Poland or to Russia, or to Ukraine.
Yeah.
For their use.
Yeah, and I just for kicks and giggles here, I wanted to look up and see the exchange rate between the U.S. dollar and the Russian ruble. $1 US is equal to about 80 Russian rubles. So
inflation's a little high over there. Maybe.
Inflation has gotten a little bit out of hand there. So, like I said, Putin, he does have to answer for things at home. I think it's a misconception that he has free reign with no.
Well, my thing is Russia's a very I shouldn't say sparse, but sparse country. There's major cities like Leningrad.
All in the west, they are. I mean, they're the biggest country land-wise, but by population density, they're one of the smallest, if not the smallest. So,
where we see the major cities, I said Leningrad, I meant St. Petersburg. Sorry, I'm still stuck in the Soviet Union, apparently. St. Petersburg, Moscow, and we see those major areas. Those are where his power base is.
Yeah.
That's where they're not drafting citizens of Russia. They're not drafting them from those major metropolitan areas where most of the power has been within. I shouldn't say consolidated, but
concentrated.
Concentrated, yes. The major power is concentrated in the larger cities, not through the sparse villages and stuff like that.
Where they're getting the draftees.
They're getting the draftees for this. Well, mainly the draftees are coming from former not satellite states, but the
Belarus,
Siberia, stuff like that.
Yeah, you see North Korea sending soldiers there. They're getting help from their allies to an extent. You have to wonder how long that's going to last.
They're getting far eastern population representatives. That's why you see so many East Asian looking individuals fighting over there on the Ukrainian front.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
because they're drafting those furthest away from the capital to fill in their manpower.
Yeah, and he is, and the Russian government has been kind of steadily for the last decade or more
relying on those manpower resources.
And if you look in East Russia, they're losing. Moscow is losing its hold and its influence over those people, and a lot. It's almost in some parts it's North China.
Well, here's the thing: technically Russia, where they've been sending draft notifications to these individuals from that the far eastern provinces and cities, they can afford to do that, where they can afford to offer such high enlistment bonuses, such high death bonuses to the families. Because they can just refuse to pay it out, because they can.
There's no pushback.
Because because it's so far away from the main seat of government, the main seat of power, and how many of these people within Moscow care about the people from out east of Russia?
It's kind of that out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, they're out of sight, out of mind individuals. So that's how Russia has been getting away with supporting this war for so long.
Yeah.
They've been using individuals that aren't what every individual thinks is Russian citizens. They haven't been. They don't really draw from that portion of Russia.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. So.
But it's just
So I think this meeting, I'm hopeful that we see at the least a ceasefire and let cooler heads prevail here for a little while and take a step back. But I'm not hopeful.
There's no ceasefire going to take place, Josh.
I'm hopeful.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
You can be hopeful.
I'm not hopeful.
I'm hopeful. I don't think it'll happen.
Well, also with this, Zelensky was just in the UK the other day, I believe.
Oh yeah,
meeting with Keir
Starmer at 10th Downing Street. And
as a unilateral sign of support.
Yeah, I mean,
between him and European leaders.
He's going and he's good at doing these PR pushes, and he's doing a PR tour of Europe right now, and knowing that this meeting between Trump and Putin is coming up. Zelensky and Trump have a testy relationship.
Very testy. His first impeachment trial was practically in part due to his conversations with Vladimir Zelensky.
Yeah. So Zelensky is doing his PR tour of Europe right now, so to speak, and meeting with European leaders.
Gathering support for Ukraine as always, but
there is that component of Trump and Putin is not just talking about Ukraine; they're talking about nuclear capabilities and what that looks like going forward. Mm-hmm. Can we get a treaty in place where it keeps the stockpile to a certain number? I'll argue if that really matters, because what's the difference between 2,000 nuclear warheads and 3,000 when it takes one of them to set off a war that ends humanity?
Here's another thing I want to point out, Josh. It's just a little funny thing that I remember was back in the dissolution of the Soviet Union, whenever Ukraine was formally declared itself independent from the Soviet Republic or Soviet Union, and then the collapse of the Soviet Union, which led to the Republic of Russia, was that for all releases of territorial claims, Ukraine will return all Russian ICBMs, all nuclear payloads to Russia.
Yep.
In exchange for a guarantee that they'll never be attacked or invaded. Well, I don't think that held up too well.
Why do you have to bring that up?
Sorry, Josh. I'm just a pragmatic person, Josh. Sorry.
It is very true. I mean, that lasted for all of 25, 30 years, maybe.
30, 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, since the early 90s, right?
Yep.
So,
94? I'm not exactly
somewhere
sure.
In that time. I mean,
sorry, we weren't alive.
Yeah, but so we'll see how the meeting goes. It's going to happen again at 11:30 Alaska time, which is 3:30 Eastern time. And we will, I'm sure, do a follow-up to this and to that meeting to discuss. We may be pleasantly surprised, Lewis. I don't think so, but pleasantly.
Here, tone my sarcasm. Pleasantly?
Pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly.
This is the first meeting between U.S. and Russian leaders since 2021. Did you know that?
Oh, wow.
I'm sure.
How'd that one go?
Well, it was a little. Well, let's hope this one goes better.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So.
Oh, Lord.
Awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, just Like Josh, just hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Let's see what happens.
If nothing good comes of it, we'll be back to talk about what bad happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And if something great comes out, we'll talk about that too. Either way, we're going to talk
Either
about
way, we're going to talk about it.
it. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.